Good morning.
Good
Hello,
morning.
Joshua. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too. That was a nightmare. I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong.
Me
I
neither.
I couldn't either.
Well, did you all have a good New Year?
Oh, yeah.
That's good. It was very restful.
I'll just put out a post saying we're live with technical difficulties.
Hello, Barry.
Hey, good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Barry.
Hello, Pam. How are you?
I am fabulous now that I finally got in.
Did you have trouble, Barry?
Well, I did and I didn't. I don't know. We were in another meeting room, I think.
We were in another dimension.
We were in the green room having a chat.
So I'm waiting for Gail and Candace. We've had a lovely time. It was really quite an enjoyable conversation. And delivery status. Oh no.
New technical difficulties
Yeah.
to start the year. That never happens at the beginning of a year.
Ever.
No. Namaste.
There we go.
Okay, now I'm just trying to find
Morning, Gil.
Morning, Gail.
Gail.
We made it. I'm like, we did it.
I was having trouble getting in to my own show. I was like, what's going on? Oh, well. How are you? How are you, Gail?
Oh, I am great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Doing good.
Yeah.
All things considered, survived another beginning of a year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this says content may not be politically correct, meaning I can say WTF with the real words.
Yes, you can. It's
Holy shit, I can swear on this call.
absolutely you can. Absolutely. We've had some interesting we started with some videos and some of the videos were way over the line, so we had to sort of add that.
Oh.
Candace.
Yeah, we've had guests. We've had guests make statements for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
I don't swear on these calls. That's why I was like, that's interesting.
Ah, shucks.
Hence the disclaimer. We're not responsible.
This all started, frankly, when we ran a short segment from Suckers.
Right.
And the line that came out of him was, and everybody chuckled because most of us have seen it, was when he walked into the room and said to the people who were trying to get out of the deal, "Is that your name? Is that your signature? You're an owner now. Get the out of here." So we figured we better put the politically correct. As we get started, my apologies, everybody. It seems that we had the wrong meeting ID, which is pretty embarrassing for me, but it was something got gibbled. So I will blame technology. Good thing this is called the AutoHub show and not the Tech Hub show, because I'd be a little, Candace, I'm sorry it took so long for you to get back in.
Sorry about that. Yeah, all good.
No worries. So let's start with a video that's not politically incorrect, but it's funny, and then we'll roll right into it quickly. How's that?
If you don't laugh, you're not in the car business.
Yeah.
I'm already laughing.
Him? Had you asked me when I first met him, I would say, no way. He's not the type. I would have thought it was unexpected then. Now, looking back, no, he's totally the type. So, internet sales manager now. Are you going to be able to handle all the leads that we can get you and do everything we ask you to grow this department?
Absolutely.
We're counting on you.
Got it all under control.
Hey, I'm going to need you to take pictures of all the used cars out on the lot, write a vehicle description on each one, and upload them to the internet. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I get right on top of it.
I need you to keep the website updated. Just keep the specials on there, so on and so forth. Easy peasy.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Hey, start giving me some daily reports. You know, just the basics: response time, closing ratio, ROI, appointments. You know, daily.
Will do, sir.
Hey, your reports are slipping. Haven't gotten one in a few days.
Sorry, sir. I've been really overloaded with emails and.
You'll be happy to know I'm transferring all the sales calls to you. All of them. The salespeople are going to kill someone over this, but don't let them get to you. Go get him, champ.
Yeah, but I could really use a. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I signed us up for a few more lead providers. Free mug.
Oh my
I
God.
asked your opinion on them, but I figured who doesn't want more business? Am I right?
Oh.
SEO, Google AdWords. What do you know about that?
Yeah, it's when you build a.
Oh, no. Hey, just so you know, why don't you go ahead and take care of that stuff?
Son of a-
Oh my God.
You start blogging?
Oh God.
I hear we need to be on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Let's make it happen.
Can't do this. Can't do this. I just can't do this anymore.
Just want to make sure you've got everything you need.
So what makes this funny for all of us is we see this all the time.
Absolutely, absolutely. So insensitives to time, since we started a little late today, I'm just gonna zoom by the next one. 3 books. It was kind of hard to come up with books, actually. Probably a good book opportunity for anyone working in this area. The conversion code, lead generation, like I see it, but I didn't see a lot of books around specifically how to handle the modern lead. So if anyone's looking for a book idea in 2021, I mean, you know, there doesn't seem to be a lot of books out there specifically for auto in this area. I have no idea why, but I didn't seem to find anything. So I know there's lots of people writing books in auto, but this is an area that I think needs definitely some books. Disclaimer, obviously, we're not responsible for anything anyone says on the show
Especially
for any
Bill.
reason. And that includes stuff in video, which we get from YouTube, so it's not us anyway. That's a video from Joe Webb, if you don't know Joe. I know him, so. But there's a couple other videos, but that one by far and above, I think, is a testament to sort of the change over the last 5 to 10 years and how internet managers, having been one myself, I can say, you know, basically you're doing everything. So, you know, definitely that's a little bit of a challenge for most people, let alone. So what the fuck happened to my leads is kind of the title of the show. I deal with, I guess, dealers all the time, as does everybody else. I talk about leads a lot because the metric that I seem to hear, and I guess everyone else can correct me if I'm 100% off base here, is numbers like 90% unsold. And that's a metric I hear both in prime and non-prime from dealers all over North America, where basically they're getting maybe 10%. That's kind of their bar. Sometimes it's a little higher than that, but really it's that 90% number that, you know, glares big for me. And that's part of the reason why I thought Jeff and I should do the show. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, again, thanks everybody. Thanks for the patience while we had that technical difficulties. And I do have to say that I have a disclaimer that the words that come out of Ian's mouth don't necessarily reflect mine. But yeah, this is our show for WTF Happened to My Leads. Just very quickly, we had an end of year gratefulness show, which was just an open forum that was December 21st, and it was a terrific show. We had a lot of people join us and a great conversation. And definitely when you get a chance, please go on and take a look on our website, autohubshow.com. And our topic this week is
the podcast is doing really well. We've got over 150 already, and we've only been doing podcasts for a short period. So this will be on audio format as well, which is already going very well.
Yeah, very well. I actually had a fella reach out to me that I mentioned to the people that were on the other link earlier, that he actually listened to it on his way to work, which is, you know, I'm really quite pleased about that. But without further ado, we're going to get started here. Our guests today are Candace Gallons from Snapcell, from that lovely vacation capital, Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Gail Rubenstein from Philly, home of Philly cheesesteaks and Facebook marketing, I guess. And Barry Jordan from White Glove Marketing in Calgary, the home of politicians who travel. And started out with a question for everybody, please. So in your opinion, what do you think the level of lead response quality is in the industry today? Ian mentioned 90% are left floating in the wind. What about you? And Gail, we'll start with you.
Well, what we see, the industry average we see with lead handling and closing ratios is pretty much what Ian said. So 10%. I would say our top performing dealers across the country in the United States and Canada probably close 20 to 25% of their internet leads, but they're on it. They have, you know, immediate response time within, you know, 30 seconds of business hours. They have immediate response time outside of business hours. They have day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5. They have follow-up schedules that they follow to a T, and they never change them. So they do 100% of the process to 100% of the leads. Those are the dealers that we see closing at 20 to 25%. But I would agree with Ian, like the average dealer, 90% of their leads go unsold. And then I don't even know if half of them even remarket to them. So
no.
Yeah, I mean,
You do know.
there's a world of opportunity. So part of what we do, we obviously generate leads from Facebook and Instagram for car dealers, but the main reason why people sign up with us is the glue, the sales process, right? Like, how do I close? What am I doing with the other 90%? Where did they go? Who's talking to them? How do we remarket back to them? How do we get them in the showroom? So yeah, I'm with Ian on that one.
I spent a year studying this. I did cross shops all over North America for a year, and I used to do this for a job. So we were at 25% because of a process, but I thought things had changed. And what I've found is that no, the vast majority of leads, you know, sometimes even initial response, but usually after 3 to 5 days, they're not paying attention anymore. I mean, that's it, right? If that much. Yeah.
It's strange because the buying cycle for a new vehicle, when they're in their research phase, it takes 3 to 4 months to sell a new car, whereas a used car, it's 30 days. So when you have a lead on a new car, if you give up after contact number 5, you'll never sell them a car because they're not there in the buying cycle yet.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Candace, how about yourself?
I also see that as well. You know, not only is it the leads coming in, you know, there's, you know, given all the tools, the amount of leads that come in, we've got the leads coming in, but are they handled correctly? You know, what kind of response are we actually, you know, providing to that customer? Are we giving them, you know, great information? Is it just a written email? You know, does it get out right away? You know, I've seen that many times where, you know, shopping dealers as well, asking specifically, do you have a video on that vehicle? And they'll come back with a written response. So, you know, not really engaging, you know, what the customer is actually looking for as well, not responding to them in the manner in which they are wanting to be responded to. So there's a whole lot that can be improved upon, you know, not only, you know, in a timely manner to be able to get back to that lead right away, again, to follow up and convert that lead, but what we're giving back to them as far as communicating, you know, for our dealership, I think is lacking and can use improvement for sure.
Yeah, one of the most common things I've seen, and this is just my 10 cents, is I ask for something very specific and I get a very generic response. So it's like, you know, I'm asking like 2 questions, maybe, whatever it is. And nobody answers those questions.
Yeah.
Which is
yeah.
kind of scary. Yeah.
And, you know, customers are at different phases of their buying cycle as well when they're connecting and that lead has come in. So before, you know, the steps to the sale, we would be guiding, we would be, you know, taking that customer through that process. Now we actually have to guide them for where they are in their buying process, because we already know they've already done their research online. They've narrowed down, you know, the dealerships they're going to be working with, the vehicle that they want. We don't have to nurture them right from the very beginning like we used to. So we have to be able to adapt and respond to those leads for where they actually are as well.
For sure. Thank you so much, Barry.
Well,
how about
I'm
yourself?
going to echo everything that's been said so far, but I think the only thing that I would say is the biggest opportunity is getting past that. Like, I think it was Gail that referenced the 5, 6, 7 day, as these leads age, there's still opportunity in there. I'd mentioned earlier when we were all together waiting for the technology to catch up that my family and I had taken up some cross-country skiing over the holidays, and we'd done this and we'd done that. So obviously we have done some online shopping for skis and boots and all the stuff that you're going to need. And it's interesting now that as we are fed the information that we've been asking for, we're not immediate customers. We're not going out tomorrow to buy. We might be a month out. We could be a year out, but at some point we're going to buy. So who's going to stick with us the longest? Feed us the information we want, give us relevant information so that when it comes time to buy, we just naturally buy there. And whether that's a 30-day cycle, a 10-day cycle, or a 6-month, 9-month cycle, it's out there for every industry and every environment. And I think in the auto world, we're so used to the immediate gratification that we give up after 3 days. It's like, nope, we got another 10 leads coming in. We're going to go deal with them. Forget these other guys. They're not buying anymore. And we just excuse ourselves out of it. We put it to these commission salespeople that are supposed to be these killer salespeople that are really not. And to Gail's point, we don't have a process. We don't have it clearly defined. 100% don't get 100%. And I think we just dropped the ball way too early and let someone else swoop in and sell those other customers.
Yeah, well, like the video showed that we ran, our industry is notorious for loading people up with multiple tasks and then demanding top performance and accepting terrible performance.
Well, and it's interesting. I'm fascinated by what other industries are doing right now. And you know, we do some shopping at a particular clothing store. It's a national chain. It's not a high-end boutique or anything like that. We actually will get a call, I want to say monthly, but every few weeks, every couple of months, whatever the case is, from a representative that works there saying, hey, we've got some new stuff in that might interest your daughter. Or we've got some this, we've got these new, our winter collection has come in, whatever they're saying. And again, this is not some high-end boutique of thousands of dollars outfits or anything like that, but they've taken it to a whole new level. And they actually care. They've got a little bit of a database, some CRM stuff going on, and that's prompting them to call. And we'll get a phone call and it'll be, wow, thank you for that personal touch. That's amazing. We might not go in, we might, whatever the case may be. restaurants are taking it to a whole new level now. And all these people have started to formulate this new process of how they keep and retain customers and actually know where they are. And I think the funny thing is we used to think we were so far ahead in our industry, and we're starting to fall behind. You know, I watched something on the other day on a restaurant had a process in place where they knew that if they had a customer back 3 times, they had a customer for life. And what they did the very first time is, as soon as the hostess found out that they were a first-time customer, they were comped, I don't know, Caesar salad. I'm going to make this up. And the next time they were in, and they said, "Yeah, you know, we were in a little bit ago, and we loved this and we loved that." The waitress gave them a different color of napkin. And as soon as the floor manager or the chef or whoever noticed that different color of napkin was on the table, they come out and did an introduction and comped them something else. And the whole concept is to get them back 3 times in their restaurant, knowing full well that at the point they did that, they had a customer, a long-time customer. They didn't care about the free Caesar salad. They didn't care about the wing sampler they gave them. They didn't care about any of that. They were creating a relationship so that they knew that customer wanted to come back again. And it's a fantastic system. And our industry, we think we're so far ahead, and we've got all this technology and all this stuff going on. And there's other industries out there that are doing a way better job than we do, handling our customers and our leads and turning them into lifetime customers, you know.
Yeah, well, that comment you made about the napkin, there was a story that went around from the 50s and the 60s. Ralph Williams, who used to give customers who come in, he had greeters, and they'd walk on the lot, they'd ask him a couple questions, and they'd get either a red, a yellow, or a green balloon. And the green balloon was, "I'm buying today." The yellow is, "I might buy today." And the red was, "Stay away." And the salespeople were in the showroom that was elevated, where first thing they do as soon as they got free is look out in the lot for a green balloon, and so on and so on. Ian, why don't we move on?
Yeah, I'll actually have an interesting example of that using technology. I was at a pizza restaurant, chain restaurant in Orlando, Florida, a couple of years ago, and they had a process tablet on the table where you could pay on the table, and then after you did that, it asked you to review the manager. And the thing that was funny about it is, obviously the manager got that email like immediately, because if he got a bad review, he physically showed up at the table, which I know was really funny. But yeah, I mean, I think the process is great as long as you do it every time. Many statistics report that 80% of dealerships' online leads are not or badly handled. Do you agree? And what information, and with that information, why or why not? I mean, do you think that it's just that there's no process, or do you think that they just don't take those people seriously? I mean, what do you think, Gil?
You said, sorry, say that again. 80%. Ian,
are not handled well, like handled badly. So no response at all. Not followed up after 3 to 5 days. They're not listening to what the lead says. They just don't care. No process in terms of, let's just give it to a salesperson, hope it works out, those kind of things. Like what do you think that's that common, or do you think that it's just that the dealers aren't aware of it?
I think it's extremely common. And I also think that it is the responsibility of the sales manager and the general manager to hold their staff accountable to a process. So in my, fun car career, I worked at this big 22 store group, and the sales managers that did really well and hit their objectives they trained their salespeople, they held them accountable, they actually made them do the work. Whereas there were other managers that worked within that dealer group, and it was like the wild, wild west, right, of the car business, and they let the team and the people do whatever they wanted. So I think oftentimes that 80%, it's sometimes not, there are salespeople, it's not that they don't want to handle them, they don't know how. Like, they have no clue how. They haven't been trained. They're like, when I was a salesperson, I walked in and they're like, "You're smart, you'll figure it out." I had no training. I literally, they're like, "Yeah, here's your desk. This is where you sit. If you need help, go there. There's the coffee machine, and just go sell." I was like, what do you mean just go sell? So like I figured it out by trial and error. And I mean, my first month, I think I sold 8 cars. I don't even know how. And then like I started like, oh, well, that guy did 20. Well, what's he doing? And I would mimic what that guy was doing. But if you're not smart enough to like figure those basics out, sometimes you fail because your managers don't teach you anything at all.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you there. Everything that you just said, for sure. And when I'm working with dealer principals and general managers and talking to them, and the ones that say, okay, this is our new process going forward, and we're going to make sure that all the managers are up to speed and on board. That's what it takes. You have to have management buy-in. You have to have your team leaders leading your team, for whatever new process you're implementing. So when you're handling leads, again, what are you doing with those leads? How are you responding in a manner that's giving quality, back to that customer, or giving them something to act upon? So whether it's, handling leads now, we see obviously with video is one way, obviously, that changes, or that has changed. I think that makes a big difference. And I see that, we see that from our dealers all the time, the difference that responding with a video makes. But if, the managers aren't going to buy into that, it's never going to work. So definitely it comes from the top down, and having that team that wants to support. And you know what, the industry has changed. We are changing, and we have to adapt and change and give to our customers what they're looking for. And having a video solution obviously is something, in a way to respond in a way that hasn't happened before. Customers really enjoy that. They feel like it's more personalized. From a salesperson's point of view, you're able to introduce yourself to, your customers, so they know who they're going to be dealing with prior to coming into the dealership, to help convert that lead, so they know who they're going to be working with. You're setting the expectation. So, responding to leads now, like with these auto engage campaigns, or when a lead comes in, to be able to send out a video introducing the dealership as a whole, so they can see, the management, the staff, who they're going to be dealing with. I think, gives a lot of value, and will keep that customer, I think, engaged and wanting to do business with that dealership, as opposed to shopping around. And we also see, who's going to respond to them first. If you're not getting a response, they're going to go down the street to the next person that is going to answer them. So doing it in a way that stands out from your competition, I think, is important as well.
And even, I was going to add in one other thing, even simple questions like in the sales process with the staff. I know this sounds really silly, but some salespeople don't even know what questions to ask. Like, tell me about your trade-in. Tell me what made you contact us? Like, how did you hear about our dealership? Like, just basic level questions. They sometimes don't even know what they are, because the managers don't give you a list, like a broken out list of like, ask these qualifying questions, whether you're on the phone or before they come in. Or I go through that with my own sales staff right now. Like, we have word tracks, and I'm like, guys, you have to ask these 10 questions or you can't close one of our customers. So I feel like there's little tools for the sales toolkit that just don't exist in that process that the sales staff actually need.
And I think, to your point, Gail, they're really just floundering around and asking, like, for the business too quick without the right information, and they're not being a solution. They're just being, I want to sell a car, I want to sell a car, I want to sell a car, whatever the case may be. And I think again, too many times we give up way too fast without digging just a little bit more. And I've referenced this before, and I did a little bit earlier, is, if you just came from your chiropractor and you had the most amazing experience in the world, and you walk into the car dealership and they don't care, your expectations are completely different based on your chiropractor experience, not your car buying experience. If you go to a spa, if you go to a restaurant, wherever you go to get customer service, that's your new expectation. And if this place isn't doing it, regardless of what they're selling, that's just a problem. You're going to leave. You're like, no, I expect better service than this from everybody, and so I'm just going to go now. And if you don't get it, then you come back begrudgingly, and the only way you're going to get a deal is if you cut the price down and you give stuff away, and And then everybody's grumbling because they didn't make any money on you, and these internet leads suck, and no one makes any money, and blah 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 blah. Really, they did a bad job, and they didn't build the value. And like to your point, it's easy to script people, put it in front of them. They love it when they got it right in front of them. It's easy to do, and it's in my mind, it's simpler now, having crossed over into this side from coming from the retail side as well, because you get so bogged down with targets and 10 days and 20 days and all these different things, where you actually just step back a little bit and start looking after the customer. It escalates very quickly because there's 90% to deal with. You've got all this big slush to go through and get these leads from. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is that we've been talking about this forever, and how come no one is implementing it? I mean, I'm sure some dealerships are, but it has to start at the top. So how come the people at the top aren't filtering it down to everybody else? Because if everyone's on board, it's going to happen, and sales are just going to increase exponentially if everybody's doing the right thing.
Well,
So
I
how do you
agree-
get them on board?
Well, I agree with you, but I had an interesting experience at the beginning of last year. I used to work for a Honda store, so I was always curious about what Honda was saying, both corporately in Canada and the US, but also what had changed. I was talking to a dealer in Seattle, and he was talking about the new process from Honda USA and how they had changed the internet process. And I said, okay, well, what's that process? He goes, well, they said basically hammer those customers for the first 10 days, use phone, email, and text, and contact them every day as many times as possible, because after 10 days, they're not buying anything. And I said, okay, so how's that working? He goes, well, not well. I said, what do you mean by that? He goes, well, we used to be at like the 15 to 18% closing ratio in Seattle, in a high tech market. And I said, how's that going? He goes, now we're at about 10 to 12%.
got us right back to average.
Yeah, and I said, so you're still doing that though, right? He goes, oh yeah, Honda says the data backs this up. So I happened to work for a dealer here in the local market and was talking to the internet manager who I trained years ago. And I said, well, what's the new process from Honda? Oh, it's really good. It's reach out to those people over 7 to 10 days, 3 times a day, blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, how's that working? Well, not well. The numbers in Canada were a steeper decline than in the US. So part of it is yeah, there's metrics and there's process and all that, but part of it's also saying, okay, and this is something I've commented on many times, what is the customer, how does the customer want me to be communicated? If they send an email in and they say, listen, call me or text me, you can do that. If they send an email and said, just send me a text message, don't harass that person with a phone call. It's probably not going to work for you. If they're asking for information, you got to Gail's, ask some questions, make it customized to that person. And if you're doing that and everyone else is just, hitting them with 20 different forms of communication, you're probably likely to get that customer. Call me crazy, but I think a lot of it is that customers want to be communicated in a certain way today. That could be video, it could be text message, it could be on social, it could be a phone call, it could be different things. But in a lot of cases, we're not even doing that. Right? We're just,
To Gail's point earlier, Ian, there was a study done in Ontario with Google and a Chevy dealership, and they actually set it up so that they were watching every step of a certain group of customers going through the process.
yeah.
What they found was the messages that were being delivered to the customer were so inappropriate to what they were asking that it was comical. So they would say, I don't know, how much is an oil change? And they would be, hey, get this Volt for $199 biweekly, blah, 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 blah. It had nothing to do with what they were asking. All they wanted to know is how much is a stinking oil change? It's posted on the board behind you. Turn around and take a picture of it and tell me it's $69.99 and I'm good.
Exactly.
But meanwhile, we want to get all creative with how we're going to market to these people, and we're going to sell that brake job a car. Let's do that instead. No, they just want to do a brake job. And so what they found is when they streamlined that whole process out, they were actually able to follow a customer through from asking how much an oil change was to an actual purchase a year and a half later but they had all the cadence figured out. They had everything done properly. They were doing what they needed to do, and they weren't feeding them the wrong message at the wrong time. You know, and you get, we're all on somebody's email list where we get a monthly email from Vistaprint or from somebody somewhere that we did some business with, and some of them are extremely relevant, and some of them are, what are you on? Like, I'm not even interested in that. Like, move. Like it was a total waste is all it was, but they're doing the shotgun, bang, send it out to everybody. Hopefully somebody somewhere buys some notepads. Anyway, I
Well-
just think it's really important that the message is there.
Well, the funny part is I go back a long time, 7 years in the car business, but the basic process was always been find out things from the customer. And we keep rewriting everything to new ways of missing the boat. So Candace, it sounded like you had a comment.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, just change the way that we're responding. Like, so it hasn't been working. So the dealers that are, finding new ways to communicate back to the customer, I think is really important. And customers respond with more personalized approach. So if they're getting information back, whether it be a video, obviously that's what we do. So that's what I'm used to doing. And that's how I responded with my customers when I was selling, to say their name in their video. Thank you for inquiring on this vehicle. Here's a sneak peek of it. Would love to be able to see you. Here's, and to be able to give them, a call to action right away where they could call, text you or email you or respond virtually live with you right back. I think is a tremendous, change that can happen. And the dealers that are using that kind of platform are seeing huge results with it. So I think that a more personalized approach to handling the leads nowadays would take dealerships much further.
Yeah, for sure. And it's I help a lot of people buy cars, and I find that there's the generic autoresponder. And you send in a lead and you get, thank you so much. We really like you and we appreciate the business. And my name is blah, 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 and I'll be in touch.
And then
And cricket.
You're not on a mailing list. I mean, we complain about other industries, which is unsubscribe. Our business, it's subscribe. Where's the subscribe button? Moving right along, everybody. Thank you for the great comments. Tell me something. Does a proper lead process really make a difference to the industry? Because those people are going to buy a car somewhere. But truly, does it make a difference to the industry to sell more cars, or does it make a difference? None. How about Candace? We'll continue with you.
Yeah, well, I think, having a proper process in place, handling those leads and creating a more personalized experience will help with the reputation of the auto industry in general anyway, as far as, how customers relate their experience that they've had with that said dealership. And again, it's the car business, but it's really the people business, right? So we're creating relationships, we're building relationships, and I think how we do that is more important, and that will lead to the sale in the long run. So
perfect. How about Barry? We'll make Gail wait this time.
Well, you know what? Honestly, that's the simplest fix in any retail point today. And we've joked on previous shows about the size of the tile that the manufacturer wants you to have and the color of the walls and what color the chairs should be. And honestly, if you just sat down with your team, I don't care if you closed for a month. And to be honest with you, COVID was probably the biggest opportunity for some of these dealerships to say, okay, traffic isn't here. Everybody in the boardroom, let's go learn what new processes are going to be. And if they actually put them in place, and to Gail's 100%, and actually did what they say they do, and they do it all the time, it doesn't matter what color your chairs are. And, the gentleman you had from Philadelphia with the Ford dealership, I forget his name, Rob,
Yeah.
Yeah, here he is in a small town with an amazing process, selling 300 cars a month. And you got people in these major centers that are thrilled that they're putting out 80 a month, and they got these big buildings. I was on his website. He didn't spend his money on his showroom. He's working out of an older building. It doesn't matter, but he's giving them great service. He's doing all the right stuff. He's got an amazing process. He's got a great team behind him doing what they are told to do, or what they've decided to do is maybe the best way to word that. And they've got a process. And if a dealership took the time to actually sit down, write a process, implement that process, they could easily increase their business without changing the color of their chairs.
And I say ditto to what I say exactly what Barry, I agree. 100% of the process, 100% of the time to 100% of the people. It'll help the industry overall in new and pre-owned.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest with you, to that point, I think if we give a better service, a better experience, we can actually shorten that buying cycle up, even if it's by a couple of months. And just the sheer numbers in North America that are sold of cars, if you shorten that buying cycle up by a few months, that increases the number of units that are turning over. By making
Well, I think a big shock that happened to the industry was COVID, because those today buyers weren't walking into showrooms, they were going online. And truly the first person that connected with them and gave them a message that actually fit to what they wanted, they said, here's everything, bring me a car.
Yeah, and I go back to it, Jeff, and I say, if you were trying to do business with somebody, I don't care whether you're standing in their showroom, their restaurant, or what, and it took them 2 hours to look after you, you would be so upset. Like, whether you're in a coffee shop, a restaurant, a clothing store, if you're like, I've been here for 2 hours and nobody's talked to me, that's the experience they're getting at home. And they're not getting a good experience. It's not fast, it's not anything. And so it's really easy to replace you.
Yeah.
I mean, when 20 years ago, when we talked about the internet, it was about response time. Yeah. Now it's about, oh yeah, we got to get the response fast and better. But the reality was, it's not just about response time. It's about a process that includes response time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that the mistake 20 years ago was, oh, if I get you something fast, I'm ahead of the curve. And now it's like, oh yeah, I got to get you something fast and over communicate, and that's the way to do things. Well, no, it's I got to answer the questions. I got to get that response within a reasonable amount of time. But more importantly, I got to be of value to that customer. How am I answering the questions and standing apart from everybody else, who in some cases isn't responding at all? But it's not just response time. I mean, when I was researching these books, vast majority of them were talking about response time. And that was something that we were talking about 20 years ago, right?
You know, interesting, we had a customer 6 years ago or whatever it was, and they had sent in a lead. We were still in the infancy of setting up a BDC. It was all new to us. We were exploring it and all the different things that were going on. But we were really clear on, okay, what is our cadence going to be? And we had a cadence drawn out to, I think at that point, 60 days or something like that. But this is what happened every single time. And we had a customer respond after, I think it was the 9th email that we had sent out with no response back. And this person had responded back saying, hey, sorry, I was interested in that car, but I got pulled away to Fort Mac to go to work. I'm back now. I've got my check. What do you got for inventory? It was just that simple. They weren't able to respond. They were away working. Something had happened in their life. We'd stayed relevant. And they had just woke right up and said, hey, I'll be in tomorrow morning, and here's the car I'm interested in. But it was only because we stayed connected with relevant information.
And don't be afraid to have fun with it. I mean, some of the best long tail emails I've seen over the last year have been people that are having fun with that follow-up email. Like the subject line's interesting, what they're doing is interesting. It stands apart from just, oh yeah, are you still looking for that car? Or are you still in the market? Like, are you buying anything or something? Like, I mean, yeah. It's like, wow, like who came up with that? Like,
yeah.
Well, you know, it's very funny, Barry. You mentioned something interesting, and all of us online right now have spent a lot of time in dealership, you know, as a dealership employee. But you made a comment, and I've said this many a time to Ian. Now that I'm not directly in a dealership itself, and I see these things from 5,000 feet, it's you look at this and you go, oh my gosh, what the F are they doing here? because they bring in people, and thank God for that, because Candace, you have a job, Barry, Gail, certainly John. You have a job because they're not handling it, but so many of them have these multiple things, and they celebrate, and forgive me, they celebrate 25%. Yet this, the Tim Hortons of the world, they go, oh my God, we're only getting 25% of the people, we're going broke.
Well, think about that email I showed you the other day, and it was an email about we can deliver the car to you. There was a graphic in the email that, no word of a lie, looked like a graphic from a Chinese food, racially insensitive image in the email. And the dealership group happens to be owned by an Asian gentleman. And I'm like, man, if he saw that, like, we're in a market that's got, pretty sizable Asian population. I was like, you're sending that out to customers, dude. Like, what were you thinking there? It was like from a Chinese food menu from like the 50s or something. It's like a Chinese guy in a car, like caricature. It was like,
But I think that draws an awful lot to it as well, Ian, and we're all in on the supplier side here. There's no dealers on right now, but and it's fascinating to where a dealership won't spend money. Where other industries do, they'll spend it on a marketing campaign, they'll bring in professionals, they'll put a plan together. Here's our 6-month plan, here's our 2-year plan, whatever it is, and they will have things put together properly, rather than the dealer, who really has no clue, pretending that they know everything about advertising and this is what works and these are the 10 words you have to have, or whatever the case may be. But they won't spend the money sometimes on the long-term planning part of it, and they won't, back to your video, they won't put the support group in place where they can actually say, okay, here's the 6 people that are going to handle this, here's the 2 people that are going to do this, here's the leader of that group. It's like, no, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, right back. Because we were all laughing during that for a reason, because we've all done that. Right. And the only thing was, he wasn't having to, the only thing they didn't bring up is he had to answer his phone on the weekends when
But their tiles are the right size and color.
Right.
That video was so good.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that one. It was good.
Oh, that was terrific. Ian, I guess we have one more question. We're a little bit late than our normal thing, but we started late. So, if everybody's okay hanging around for a little bit more, we really would appreciate that.
yeah, now that we're in 2021, and now that we see across the industry lead count, no matter what dealership or brand is up, is there one recommendation that you would give a dealer on lead handling in 2021 or even in 2020? And what would that be? Why don't we start with Barry?
I think there's a lot of variables right now to answer your question. As it's an interesting time, to be honest, because there are so many variables coming at us, where a small town dealership can look big, and you can have these big dealer groups that have had it really easy because they've owned every Honda store in an area, and they just are the Honda retailer, and customers don't always know they're part of a group and everything like that. So they've had it easy. I think it's an optimal time for somebody to disrupt. And I think a smaller dealer can make themselves look really efficient and look very professional only by changing a process, because the customer doesn't always care. And if they're prepared to drive 20 minutes there, they can drive 20 minutes there. And I think every dealership should sit down and honestly look at what their cadence is. And if they don't know what their cadence is, they're in trouble. Because most of them don't know what it is. It's like, give it to that guy in the corner, give it to that girl, she'll handle that, give it to that. But they don't know what's actually happening. They don't know what's being said. They don't know what words are being put in. They don't know what the scripts are. Gail, you've got your people scripted, and I'm sure they don't have to say it word for word, but after about 6 months, they do anyway, because that's just good for them, right? It works, and so they go there. But I think if you had a dealership that you don't know what your cadence is, you're just in trouble. And I don't care what you used to do 5 years ago, that's all about to change. And I think it's an interesting time for that.
Gail? She's got a thought.
Wait, say your question again. Sorry, I got a little lost there.
If there was one recommendation you would give a dealer on lead handling this year, what would it be?
Oh, I would tell them to sign up with Barry, Candace, and Gail.
Cheers to that.
Yeah, that's what I would say. I'd be like, you have 3 vendors here that can help you
And fix it.
and fix your problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's literally what I would do.
If I can just make a comment on that, Barry said it and you said it too, Gail. Dealers are notorious for knowing everything. And I remember back in the day how I told my ad rep how to do an ad in the paper. And now I look at it and go, what did I know? I took a course.
Candace?
Yeah, for sure. Just, you know what, I think now's the time, like you said, change the process. Obviously, what you've been doing has not been working. So, you know, to find a new way to implement the process and to stand behind it and, you know, come together as a team and find the solutions that are going to work and, you know, figure out how customers want to be communicated to nowadays. And I think that's is most important. So yeah, definitely the times have changed. We knew, you know, times were changing anyway, but now is the time with the new year to just try something new. You know, what do you have to lose, really?
Yeah.
The other thing, just really quickly, and I don't want to hog too much, but just the thing that I find really fascinating is so many dealers and decision makers do things only because they don't know that they can get their team to do it. So they'll say, well, I can't get my team to make phone calls. I can't get my team to make videos. So I'm just going to go with this automated system that'll do it for me. It's totally unpredictable. It's not personalized. It's nothing, but they're only doing it because they can't get their team to make the phone calls, to write the email, to do it the way they want to do it. So they just default to this tech that's going to solve them. And it's not about that anymore. It's not about the autoresponder, because that's the only reason autoresponders were made, is because they couldn't get their people to respond to emails properly, right? You know, and John, you see it from your side, I'm sure.
Of course.
Right? They go, oh, I can't, my team won't do that. My team won't make phone calls. Well, that's a problem that you have.
Yeah, that's like, well, who are you hiring, right? At that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who's the boss here? Who's in charge? Who's the team leader? Who's the captain of that team? You know, to get your, you know, your team rolling. You know, it's it comes down to the management, obviously.
And you know, we all see it. We'll roll into a dealership and it'll be all excited and everything like that. And it's like, well, everybody but that guy's going to be in your session.
Yeah, that happens every single time.
Right? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Get that guy out of here.
What is that guy doing?
Right?
So
Crazy.
funny.
That and the chat bots that don't do anything. They can't answer questions.
It's very funny.
That chat bot it can't answer any questions, but what's your phone number? Like,
Yeah.
what do you have now?
But you know, you made a very good comment to everybody about the fact that the person at the top just does whatever because they can't get their team to do it. And John put a question on his LinkedIn this morning, which is, what do you do when you're having trouble with your salespeople? Do you develop them or replace them? And of course, I think the vote right now is 100% on replacing them.
That's right.
Because we put in such a small amount of effort into building people and building process, yet we're prepared to spend scads of money replacing people because we just don't have the energy to retrain them. Or
well, the interesting thing about that comment, though, is at least there's some action happening one way or the other. What I see a lot of is you've got this sacred cow sitting in the corner that's worked there for 20 years, sells 15 cars a month, doesn't really do anything you're asking them to do. They don't mind their database. They could sell you 30 cars a month if they would do something. They refuse to pick up the phone on an event sale because that's not how their customer buys. And all this stuff. And so if you're going to train them or get rid of them, at least you're doing something with them. But too many times we see the inactivity in the corner. I do anyway, and I'm seeing the nods. And it's like, well, you could start there, but we're going to start with some technology, but you could start there too and fix that problem because that guy's running your floor. Anyway, sidebar.
It would be very interesting that if managers, instead of relying on mystery shoppers, and I apologize because we want to try and get mystery shop companies on as guests too, would actually walk into another dealership and have an experience and then go, wow, you know, that's no different than my place. So anybody else have any final comments?
No, all good. Thanks.
Silent.
All good.
All good.
Everybody, thank you so
Thanks
much.
for having me.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you joining us. Ian, do you have the slide for the vendor speak?
I do actually.
Good meeting you,
So-
Candace.
Yeah.
Great to meet all of
That
you.
was very good. Very good.
Good
Thank
seeing you again, Gail.
Yeah, good seeing you guys.
We should
So-
find some time, Gail, to hop on a call and just go through a quick Zoom if you have time.
Yeah, we should. We'll find time.
So product showcase is what we're doing in 2021. The reason for it was what we found with Vendor Speak in 2020 was that most dealers wanted small bites on different products. So what we're thinking is basically having 2 to 3 vendors on at once, doing a 10-minute pitch to start, and then answering questions at the end. To get more dealers on, but also to be more value to the dealers. So maybe it's a product category like today, we got 3 vendors. Here's 3 vendors. This is what they offer. Do a 10-minute pitch. And then at the end, what questions? Because it's just, you know, a half an hour or in some cases, 45 minutes on one product is just way too long.
Yeah.
It's just most dealers don't have the attention span of more than 10 or 15 minutes on any product.
So all of you do expect to be contacted by us asking you to join Vendor Speak with our new formats.
And that's what we're moving towards for the new year. But we're also confident that I've had many dealers both on the show and afterwards, and even reach out to me and say, "Hey, I don't know what to do in this part of my business. I have no idea. I don't have time to see a demo every day for a month to figure it out. Can you help me?" Right. So and of course I get reached out by vendors all the time wanting to sell X, Y, Z. But what that tells me is that, you know, if you have a show on a specific topic where you have 3 or 4 vendors, you're going to have much more success selling to those dealers because they then have the information in small bites. Dealers aren't, you know, huge bandwidth people generally.
And it's tough on a show like this to come up with 45 minutes with limited feedback as well from a presenter's point of view.
Yeah, I mean,
Long 45.
We've had, 20, 30 minutes vendor speak. We've had vendor speak that were as long as an hour. Jeff can probably speak a little bit more to the, the thoughts from the field. But, I would say that a 10-minute pitch is plenty for most dealers. Yeah. If they want more, if they have more information, they probably got a technical person or a manager who maybe has questions. But even with what I do on a day-to-day basis, I mean, I might have to do 2 or 3 demos just because that dealer doesn't have questions, but his team does, right? But until you can get past that, decision maker, it's kind of, and 30 minutes boring them with more information is not going to work as well, I don't think.
Well, we experienced this firsthand too when we're working on shows, because some of our guests from large corporations, they actually have somebody running interference for them, and then we have to get the approval from their marketing team or their PR team. And it can be frustrating when we're talking about the show and asking what they would like to see, and the PR person says, well, we want this to be this way, and then the person gets on and goes, they said what? So yeah, we get the same thing. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us on our first show of the year. I am glad that it started so smoothly, and we appreciate it. And my beloved tech friend here, Mr. Nethercott, will be formulating the recording and sending it out to all of you. We do encourage you, please, ask you as well to send it to your contacts, and of course this will go on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and
anywhere you get your podcast.
What's that?
It's syndicated, so anywhere that you get your podcast, we will see it. iTunes is the most glaring, but it goes everywhere. And podcasts are, if you're not already doing a podcast for your business, highly recommend it. The interest in audio versions of anything are surprising to me. I can't say enough about how impactful podcasts are. We hit 100 downloads very quickly, and we're almost up to 200 now, which is not huge, but we've only been doing it for a short period of time. So podcasts where people listen, and you'll get a lot of people who will listen rather than watch it, even though you might be great on video. Like the amount of you. I mean, I have a buddy who has 500,000 downloads of a podcast. So yeah, podcasts. If you're doing a video show of any type and you're not doing a podcast version, you could be. If you have questions about how to do that, I mean, I can help you. It's pretty straightforward. And syndicating it's not difficult. I think there's only one site that was their user agreement was crazy, but other than that, it was very, very seamless.
Perfect.
Cool.
And YouTube, if you're doing anything on YouTube with third-party content, you can't post it. So you'll notice the YouTube cut of this show will not have the intro video because they search for copyrighted material. So we'll be everywhere else, but not on the YouTube cut.
I think, Ian, we should do TikToks now.
Yeah. I should.
With that, thank you all so much. We really appreciate it, and Happy New Year, and may we all have great success. And tune in next week.
Thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Barry and John, as always.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.